complete one of a kind in every single kind of way. Yeah, because it kind of just shows like characters who just have all these downfalls, and it's just through all that. It's one of those films where, like, honestly, I think this would be a shocking surprise to most. I certainly was shockingly surprised when I saw Boogie Nights for the first time. It's certainly less something very awe-inspiring, as well as very free-spirited. I felt very. I think something about this film really boosted my confidence a lot. In a lot of my ways. Like, there's something about this that just captures this tone perfectly. Of like, the subject matter is, and this could be the controversial point that may or may not, if you just really take offense to the fact that this is a pornography setting. I mean, this isn't about the porn whatsoever. This is literally just about the humanism of the characters here. It's just a completely heartwarming kind of film that portrays a light and dark side that comes with acceptance in the family in general. You have all these songs like Mark Wahlberg just going into all this stuff, like, it's comedy gold. Like all these songs he sings, and then it's just, it's like kind of like these legendary little just moments. It's just like Paul Thomas Anderson wrote about 100 colorful scenes, and he just kind of edited it all together to a just completely perfect, cohesive whole. And he kind of portrayed, I think, some raw insanity when he was making this and Magnolia, just portraying a very over-the-top biopic, which, honestly, can't say I've ever seen anything quite like this film. It's a very original kind of spirit it possesses, where it's like almost as epic as in scope as something like The Godfather in its tone, and there's some moments of violence, but then it's just also like very laid back, like Days of Confused. Like Goodfellas has kind of levels of dark comedy. I don't know. It's just like its own thing entirely, bro. Like the way that it just where all these influences. Magnolia is kind of more the heartfelt side, but I think Boogie Nights is just having so much fun. And then Thomas Anderson kind of shifted with this film. He became more singular with his perspective. Like he wanted to get more complicated and richer with his singular with one character. Ron, like the ensemble, some bit shades like Inherent Vice and Licorice Pizza, but overall, they're still more introverted in tone. I think this feels a little bit more exuberant, youthful, and excited as a director, but still done as like great as like all the masters were doing it. But the youthful energy just comes from just being very colorful, constantly. Again, it's like a boom that reminds me a lot of the best of like French New Wave. And it just brought to the 90s. I think a lot of the best of the 90s kind of have a continued foundation of French New Wave. Julianne Moore's perfect. Amber Wave, she's great in this. All these characters, like Heather Graham. Is easily my favorite Heather Graham role. Roller Girl. I mean, that's an amazing character. But that's just the thing about Boogie Nights. It's just awesome. Yeah, like this is, I think, a film that it just avoids the trap of any dull biopic. It's literally exciting the entire way through. It's very cinematic, very epic, and it's intimate too with all the characters. As Paul Thomas Anderson most certainly always does care about his characters. Like it feels like he's led up to a cold and detached cold. He kind of does the perfect amount of cold, where it's a cold, necessary cold that's generated towards world building. But as far as the characters go, they're just in their own thing entirely. That does remind me of like the best of kind of how Robert Altman is perceiving his characters in the film Nashville. Shortcuts. This was a lot like Shortcuts kind of influence. Paul Thomas Anderson is a little more earnest, a little bit more youthful, and perhaps a spark of naivete, which is a necessary naivete, the genius kind of naivete, where it's just like the dreamer who's in a dark world, but he has a light to offer as well. It's like seeing a full spectrum of light and dark in a really refreshing kind of way. The characters here just really stand out, and it feels like Paul Thomas Anderson's kind of the ultimate, just one-of-a-kind storyteller. I mean, he like writes these films very deeply and epic. Like, all these scenes are just great. That's exactly, I think, the best way to function as a director. Just literally think of 50 different scenes. You don't even have to put together, but just kind of have that subject matter intact. And it literally just kind of comes together. I mean, I feel like this is it right here. And you kind of just edit it all together. This is a bunch of meaningful scenes. Just yop them together. I don't know. It's almost like life affirming to me when I watch this film. Again, perhaps few films relax me more in its kind of tone, and then the intensity. I mean, I haven't mentioned the best scene of the film is the whole Alfred Millennia scene at the end. It's very intense, and it feels like a lot of the most intense scenes of Pulp Fiction kind of go into. That's another film that reminds me heavily of a lot of influence from Pulp Fiction. Like, imagine if Pulp Fiction was a biopic, like kind of feeling also, but Wes Anderson kind of paving the way for a best or great Wes Anderson film can leave an impact on it. I think he's even more like a close up. I think Paul Thomas Anderson's looking at it a little bit more personally by comparison, a little more of an epic scope. Wes Anderson was always a very intimate kind of person. Like, but again, it's just the colorful scheme of this film. And again, I remember like just seeing this for the first few times, and I remember just being obsessed with the feeling of this. So it's almost just a unique feeling of fun, the feeling of authentic feeling of feeling like a star, but then kind of just feeling like a bum throughout a lot of it too. Again, kind of that honing in a lot of Raging Bull influence, but certainly a little more lighthearted too. Like Raging Bull is just always mean spirited, but this is a little like a nicer kind of Raging Bull, but still intense, just as perfect all the same. I love always just little scenes, always just little moments that are just really detailed. That's Paul Thomas Anderson's attention to detail. It makes us feel like one of those complete cohesive whole. I don't know, it's just like it leaves me feeling very bubbly the entire way through, because the soundtrack has so much momentum. It's my favorite portrayal of the 70s. I love the Days of Confused kind of soundtrack, but I think I'm just less familiar with the disco scene of the 70s, and this actually portrays like the way it meshes with the scenes, just make it feel so freaking good. I don't think I'm considering myself a disco guy, but the way this portrays it is really great. Yeah, I mean, it certainly is just like a great exploration of just, again, like one of my favorite themes of all time is just like characters who exemplify some overconfidence. And man, there's a motherload of overconfidence going on in this film. It's really fun, entertaining, lighthearted the way that it expresses it, but it can be depressing too in the soul, like the way the characters can go through these like downfalls, and it can be hard to witness at times. But yeah, I mean, that's just the way that it goes. It's just a rise and fall kind of story. But the family, like, you gotta tell that it's all intact and it's loose. In the end, I don't know. It's just something really it's just really cool about it. It's just like uniquely entertaining kind of film that just captures the full spectrum. It's just like a complete experience. So yeah, I mean, again, unless you have that barrier with the pornography subject matter, which it doesn't go deep into whatsoever, it's literally just kind of a backdrop to what's going on. It's much like how The Master is really not about religion or Scientology. Like it's literally about everything around it. It's all about the heart and spirit of the character. So I really recommend this film to anybody. Again, at a certain age, because nudity, so that's what a little bit of nudity gets us in this. But I'd say 17 up if you're comfortable. Once you're comfortable, an R-rated film that possesses a little bit of that. It's just a perfect film. It's so colorful, vibrant, entertaining, just full of life and inspiration. For a youthful kind of enthusiasm in filmmaking, I think that's the best way I could describe the buzz. It's youthful enthusiasm. Again, and Paul Thomas Anderson would only grow and evolve into something completely different. Like it would kind of become more in the Stanley Kubrick-like territory in this more recent, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. But in the 90s, it's like, yeah, it's this and Magnolia are uniquely youthful. And you could say over the top in an energy. I think I spent a lot of my youth questioning how people don't 100% just fall in love with what this and Magnolia are doing. But I kind of see in time maybe it's just the naivete. Maybe is a little intense, perhaps, but I mean, Wes Anderson's and it's no different than that, really. But it's just about it's honestly just naivete that's too genius and too good. They just care too much about their characters and the world building and all the attention to detail and everything revolved around it. Like this literally feels like as passionate as like Sergio Leone. like this is perfect material right here. And yeah, it's a real film. And honestly, if you love Martin Scorsese films, I mean, there's no way you won't connect to this. This feels a lot like the feeling of, like the film that came out recently was Casino. This feels a lot in spirit, kind of like how Casino is, but a lot more lighthearted, because that's perhaps I believe that's the most violent Scorsese film. So I'm curious to look and revisit that one, talk about that one, because that one's a massive epic. But Boogie Nights is perfect. Again, if you don't have an offense to pornography, I recommend this movie strongly. Boogie Nights.